Good morning. My name is Sarah Quigg, and I will be your worship partner today. And I would like to welcome you to our monthly multi-generational service here at Westminster. When strangers meet, endless possibilities emerge. Each is called to serve something larger than the self. Today, this morning, let's light the chalice for openness, for willingness to grow, for rich curiosity, and for common purpose.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ellen Quaadgras. I am the minister here, and I also want to welcome you to Westminster Online, here together even while we are apart. This is February 7th, which means it is the first Sunday of the month and the first Sunday of our new theme, which for February is beloved community. What is that exactly? Together in today's service designed for all ages, we will explore that question, what it means, what it could mean for us, and what hope this idea holds for everyone. But fundamentally, it's got something to do with love, and it's not always easy. I invite us to go deeper into worship this morning with these words by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden. May I be all in for beloved community. May I be all in despite the challenges. May I be all here for beloved community. May I be ready for the beauty because I long for the possibilities. Yes, I am here for beloved community. May I see the beauty of you in community, of us in community. May we be the beauty. May we be the dream together. let us begin our dreaming with our opening hymn. It's Come and Go With Me, and Liz will post the lyrics in the chat, and you can either take it in or feel free to sing along.
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Let us join together in our unison affirmation, which is posted in the chat. Love is the spirit
This
of
church
this church and
and
service
service
our
its
mission.
law.
This
This
is
is our great covenant.
covenant.
dwell
Dwell together in peace,
To seek
to seek
truth and
truth
love,
in love
and to help
and
one
to help.
another.
one another.
Let us join together in a spirit of meditation or prayer. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits here, not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, and learning to love ourselves. Apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace. Creating beloved community together, we are one. Let's take a few moments now for quiet reflection and meditation or prayer as we take in meditative music in response.
Here at Westminster, we share our offering every month with a different organization that shares our values or our mission. Our February Share the Plate is the Elizabeth Buffum Chase Center, which offers short-term, safe, confidential shelter for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and their children. In addition to providing for all basic needs, the center encourages residents to participate in a program that includes education about domestic violence, parenting, and financial literacy. The center also provides specialized children's services, law enforcement advocacy, professional training, support services, and referrals. All this allows clients to take the next steps towards self-sufficiency. The other half of the offering goes to support the good works of this community. You can donate by using the link that is now being posted in the chat. The offering will now be given and received with gratitude.
As I mentioned earlier, our theme this month is beloved community, which is a nice term. Building beloved community has a nice ring to it. It It's got the word love in it. It's got the word community in it. Seems to describe a place you would feel welcome, right? A home base where you are loved. Building the beloved community. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King talked about this. I've talked about this. But what does it mean? What did King mean? What did he say? He had a dream, right? That all children, regardless of the color of their skin, would be treated equitably. He dreamed of a world in which all people could share in the wealth of the earth, where poverty would not exist because human decency would not allow it. He dreamed of an end to racism and all forms of discrimination to be replaced by an inclusive spirit of kinship. He dreamed not just of a beloved community, as in a place to go where you feel loved and at home, but of the beloved community, a world, a renewed world, where everyone is loved and at home everywhere. His dream has not yet come true. When I was growing up, I thought it had. That was the message I got, that segregation was over, racism is gone, everyone has equal opportunity now, we're good. But no one explained to me why, if King's dream had come true, so many of the menial, unpleasant jobs in my community were taken care of by people of color. And no one explained to me why, if King's dream had come true, so many Black people said it had not come true. And no one explained to me why, if King's dream had come true, the Black neighborhoods were so poor and run down. I didn't understand the history and the impact of uneven wealth and the lasting impact of racial bias on schools and people and opportunities and options. It was all a world away from me. Literally. I don't think there was a Black person in my town when I lived there in New Jersey in the early 1970s. These days, some things are different. Some people are waking up. Some institutions are making changes. The death of George Floyd and the aftermath has led to an awakening among some white people that is moving us forward. But some things are not different. Towns like East Greenwich are almost as segregated as they were before the civil rights movement. For many white people, the lived realities of people of color, while on the news, are not part of our day-to-day lives. And people of color, Black and Indigenous people in particular, tend to get the worst of all kinds of societal problems, from pollution to poverty to prison time to COVID cases, not to mention all the new expressions of explicit racism that we are witnessing on the news. The beloved community has not yet arrived. And that can be discouraging, especially when we know that no one leader can fix it. No one administration can set everything right. If that were possible, things would have been resolved quite some time ago. But just because something just is, does not mean that justice is impossible, to misquote Amanda Gorman's powerful Inauguration Day poem. Just because things are and have been a certain way for a long time doesn't mean they always have to be that way. And just because we may not know exactly what to do to make things better doesn't mean there isn't hope.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
There is more hope right now, right here, in this time, in this town, in this congregation. But it doesn't happen on its own. There is a man, Bryan Stevenson, who, like King did in his day, is fighting for equal rights in ours. Stevenson is a famous author and lawyer. He has saved many innocent Black men from unfairly being given the death penalty. And he is a powerful and impressive figure. He also tirelessly promotes equality and understanding. But he also understands that he can't do it by himself. While a great leader can make a big difference, it is on all of us in our daily lives to make the big difference. Stevenson has a few simple phrases that he shares with audiences when he speaks. Practices any of us can do to help create the beloved community wherever we are.
Number 1, get proximate. That's a fancy word for getting close. Get in there. Jump into the fray. It's hard to fix a problem from the other side of the world or the other side of town. You have to go to where the difficulty is, where the suffering is, so you can help. Number 2, change the narrative. That's fancy for tell a different story. A lot of times we hear stories of discouragement, like people are just bad, or things won't ever change anyway, or there's nothing I can do. Changing the narrative means telling a new story, a story that implies people are good. There are things we can do, that implies there is hope. Number 3, stay hopeful. We get to practice looking for hope, even when it's hard to see. Because even when things don't look so good, if we stay in it and change the way we look at things, we might feel differently and stay energized. And lastly, number 4, learn to be uncomfortable. Facing problems is hard. Most people feel like we have enough to deal with, but much of life is hard. In fact, some of the best things in life include times of discomfort. When we learn to be uncomfortable, we open up our world.
Now, as Sarah said, none of this is easy. But these 4 shorthand, simple practices, I think, could just change everything. I want to share with you a story about one grandmother and one little boy, and some real world examples of some getting proximate, some changing the narrative, some getting uncomfortable, and some staying hopeful in everyday life. The story is called Last Stop on Market Street by Matt De La Pena, produced by the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. And what we're about to show you is a video of the author reading the story in a setting that actually recreates the story right in front of his young audience's eyes and ears. Now, here's my challenge to you. See if you notice any of Bryan Stevenson's 4 practices in action as we watch. See if you notice any getting proximate, any changing the narrative, any staying hopeful, or learning to be uncomfortable in this story.
The title of the book is Last Stop on Market Street. CJ pushed through the church doors, skipped down the steps. The outside air smelled like freedom, but it also smelled like rain, which freckled CJ's shirt and dripped down his nose. He ducked under his Nana's umbrella, saying, "How come we gotta wait for the bus in all this wet?" "Trees get thirsty too," his Nana told him. "Don't you see that big one drinking through a straw?" CJ looked for a long time, but never saw a straw. Can I show you guys this illustration? Do you see the straw that the tree is drinking from? We don't have to even say where it is or what it is, but if you see the straw, you understand the entire book. Okay? From the bus stop, he watched water pool on flower petals, watched rain patter against the windshield of a nearby car. His friend Colby climbed in, gave CJ a wave, and drove off with his dad. "Nana, how come we don't got a car?" "Boy, what do we need a car for? We got a bus that breathes fire, and old Mr. Dennis, who always has a trick for you." The bus creaked to a stop in front of them. It sighed and sagged, and the doors swung open. "What's that I see?" Mr. Dennis asked. He pulled a coin from behind CJ's ear, placed it in his palm. Nana laughed her deep laugh and pushed CJ along. They sat right up front. By the way, real quick, I want to ask you guys a question. This first line right here is very important to me, that they sat right up front. Does anybody know why that's an important line? There was a time where certain people could only sit in certain seats, and I think Nana wants to take advantage of the fact that she can now sit anywhere. So they sat right up front. The man across the way was tuning a guitar. An old woman with curlers had butterflies in a jar. Nana gave everyone a great big smile and a good afternoon. She made sure CJ did the same. The bus lurched forward and stopped, lurched forward and stopped. Nana hummed as she knit. "How come we always gotta go here after church?" CJ said. "Miguel and Colby never have to go nowhere." "I feel sorry for those boys," she told him. "They'll never get a chance to meet Bobo or the Sunglass Man. And I hear Trixie got herself a brand new hat." CJ stared out the window, feeling sorry for himself. He watched cars zip by on either side, watched a group of boys hop curbs on bikes. A man climbed aboard with a spotted dog. CJ gave up his seat. "How come that man can't see?" "Boy, what do you know about seeing?" Nana told him. "Some people watch the world with their ears." "That's a fact, their noses too," the man said, sniffing at the air. "That's a mighty fine perfume you're wearing today, ma'am." Nana squeezed the man's hand and laughed her deep laugh. Two older boys got on next. CJ watched as they moved on by and stood in back. "Sure wish I had one of those," CJ said. Nana set down her knitting. "What for? You got the real live thing sitting across from you. Why don't you ask the man if he'll play us a song?" CJ didn't have to. The guitar player was already plucking strings and beginning to sing. "To feel the magic of music," the blind man whispered, "I like to close my eyes." Nana closed hers too. So did CJ and the spotted dog. And in the darkness, the rhythm lifted CJ out of the bus, out of the busy city. He saw sunset colors swirling over crashing waves, saw a family of hawks slicing through the sky, saw the old woman's butterflies dancing free in the light of the moon. CJ's chest grew full, and he was lost in the sound, and the sound gave him the feeling of magic. The song ended, and CJ opened his eyes. Everyone on the bus clapped, even the boys in back. Nana glanced at the coin in CJ's palm. CJ dropped it in the man's hat. Last stop on Market Street, Mr. Dennis called. CJ looked around as he stepped off the bus. Crumbling sidewalks and broken down doors, graffiti-tagged windows and boarded-up stores. He reached for his Nana's hand. How come it's always so dirty over here? She smiled and pointed to the sky. Sometimes when you're surrounded by dirt, CJ, you're a better witness for what's beautiful. CJ saw the perfect rainbow arcing over their soup kitchen. He wondered how his Nana always found beautiful where he never even thought to look. He looked all around them again, at the bus rounding the corner out of sight, and the broken street lamps still lit up bright, and the stray cat shadows moving across the wall. When he spotted their familiar faces in the window, he said, "I'm glad we came." He thought his Nana might laugh her deep laugh, but she didn't. She patted him on the head and told him, "Me too, CJ, now come on." And if you guys see, CJ and his Nana are at the soup kitchen, but are they eating there or are they serving? They're serving others, right? So even when you don't have all that much money, you can't buy a car, you can still help others, right? And the last thing I wanted to show you guys, who's this a picture of? So it's CJ and his grandmother, right? He's reading a book. What color is the book? What color is this book? So don't you think he's reading Last Up on Market Street? I do too, but the illustrator told me it's not true. He said that apparently the cover used to be white. And you know what I told him? I said, I don't care, I'm telling everybody he's reading Last Up on Market Street. So thank you guys so much for listening to me.
So that was Last Stop on Market Street. And I'm really curious if any of you noticed any of those 4 practices. Now, this isn't a test, but an invitation or a dare, if you're up for it. So this is my invitation to invite you to post in the chat if you did see, for example, where did CJ and his Nana get proximate? Where did you see them getting close to where things are hard? Where in the story did you see the narrative getting changed? Where there was an attitude shift, a different story being told? Where did you see the characters learning to be uncomfortable? And where did you see them staying hopeful? So I'm actually going to pop up a few slides from the story to help us all remember, because I know I forget things as soon as they're gone. So let me see if I can share my screen. This is a total experiment, so we'll see how this goes. All right, sharing my screen. Okay, so this is your invitation to share something about what you saw in this story about them getting close to hard things. I'm going to give you some hints because I would need them. So, you know, they get close to where things are hard. They get off the bus. Some might say that even getting on the bus had its challenges, standing in the rain, watching a car go by, when you really would prefer to be in the car rather than on the bus with all these unfamiliar people. So as you can tell, I'm answering the questions even as I am asking them. Okay, so those are some proximate things. They got proximate when they went to the soup kitchen and were there with, yeah, soup kitchen, here we go. I know, I should give people actually time to type. And then, yes, Nana saw many things through a positive perspective. Trees, whoops, I'm in the wrong one. Trees drinking the rain as opposed to just standing in the rain. So that was a time when the narrative was getting changed for sure. And I have a cheat sheet, I confess. Oh, the rainbow, right? That was a hopeful perspective. Let me pop back down to the rainbow right there. If you can see that behind the boarded up windows and stores. She was able to see it when all CJ could see was the cracks in the sidewalk and how dirty everything was. Learning to be, appreciating the music. Absolutely, yeah. He seemed to want to have the headphones that the two older boys had to listen to some iPod or something, and instead he was encouraged to listen to the music of the guitar player. CJ saw things negatively at first, but then began appreciating things around him. That's true. There was the moment when he was really listening to the music and saw those beautiful images in his mind. The blind man who saw with his ears, yeah, he was able to take in the world through a whole other lens, so to speak. And that helped CJ and his grandmother do the same thing. And that's one of the things that led to CJ being able to enjoy the music so much, I imagine. And the visually impaired man showed different ways of seeing, right? When CJ closed his eyes, what he saw was changing the narrative. Yep, he saw beautiful things. Oh, I love it when you guys respond. That's great. And let me see. I was actually thinking too that it would be fair to say CJ, in terms of getting uncomfortable, CJ was uncomfortable right from the start. He didn't want to be out in the rain. He didn't want to go anywhere in the first place. He wanted things that he couldn't have. He wanted a car. He wanted an iPod. And it's uncomfortable to go to these crumbling parts of the city. Okay, and here's another comment. It can be so uncomfortable when we're all crushed together on a bus. Yep, we're not in control of who sits with us. We have to share space, but then that becomes a glorious experience to feel. And as one with people I don't know, makes me know I need to ride the bus more often. Sharing space is essential. And goodness, when there are butterflies and guitar music. Yeah. All a word I can't pronounce for sure. Great. And then, it ends with hopefulness. Even though CJ was never really comfortable, you could say CJ's grandmother was helping him stay hopeful at every turn. That magic of the guitar player music. They sit at the front of the bus. Things can change. Yes. His grandmother reminded him that he likes Bobo and the Sunglass Man and Trixie and all those people he's gotten to know at the soup kitchen. And helping him see, as we have already noted. Lanap is pronounced Lana. There we go. Thank you. See, we are a community sharing in love, helping each other understand and reflect on this story. So I'll stop screen sharing now. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating, whether you participated in your mind or whether you actually managed to type into the chat. That was fabulous. So that was a nice story, but how does that relate to this place, the one I'm in now, to this community that we're part of now? How does it relate to our trying to build beloved community? What does it mean for us? Now, Sarah Quigg and Beth Gibson, our RE coordinator, and I were first talking, when we were first talking about beloved community, we all started brainstorming all the many wonderful ways this community is already full of love, about what a welcoming place this is, about all the ways we show up. That is, all the ways we get proximate with each other, like now, even when it's hard during COVID, we're still, everyone here today is showing up on Zoom, which is less comfortable in a lot of ways than, or less something than coming together in person. We talked about all the ways we already express the values of beloved community. For example, that everyone contributes. We all pitch in, like that bus driver who found a coin behind CJ's ear. We all give what we can, when we can, to help create a community of kindness and caring and warmth. Like King's dream, we ask each other to do what we can when we can, and we strive to offer each what they need. Even our pledge drive reflects this. No one has to pay more than they can afford to be part of this community, but all have equal access to everything. We went on for quite a while about how this community is a beloved home and all the things the committees and individuals and teams do to make it happen. You may be thinking of a variety of other things too about all the ways we express love here. At the same time, we also realize that because of this very old history, because of the effects of racism in Rhode Island and on the towns here, the church is located in a part of the state where, in fact, we are segregated, separated from parts of the state where a lot of people of color live. And we realized that because of the effects of racism on income and wealth, the places where life is hardest are also mostly not close to where the church is. And as we talked, we realized that some of our members know personally what it's like to have really hard times in life financially, and have grown wide and wise spirits because of it. On the other hand, some of us struggle to know what to say to people whose backgrounds and education might be very different from our own because we have not had those kinds of difficult financial experiences. Some of our members are people of color and know what it's like, what it's really like to be treated differently because of the color of their skin, know what it's like to see racism on the news and feel the pain of it in your own heart and body. And some of our members, some of us may still feel removed from that reality, focused on other things closer to home. Some of our members' lives are really hard. And some of us haven't had to deal with poverty or oppression in quite the same way, which makes it difficult to understand what that's really like.
As we were working together on the service, I began to mull over a two-pronged philosophy for working toward beloved community. And I kept coming back to welcome, connect, serve. Being welcoming is so important, and part of what makes Westminster so loved by many of us is that we take comfort in the knowledge that we are welcoming. We encourage and celebrate being joined by all, regardless of race, gender or sexual identity, economics, or by any of the other identifiers that too often divide people. But then I thought about how we really can't get too comfortable with welcoming, because if we do, we start to run the risk of asking those in need of doing the hard work of coming to us. I equated it to inviting someone in need of a warm meal into your own kitchen. Part of that impulse is grounded in our own comfort in our own homes. We know where everything is in our own kitchen and we like it, and we can create the meal we want. But sometimes homemade mac and cheese and your grandma's homemade brownie recipe, sometimes that's exactly the sort of thing someone is looking for. But other times it's a meal they can't eat and it's of no help to them at all. Sometimes what's comforting to us may not be the comfort someone else needs. So we have to leave our comfort zone behind and meet those people in need where they are. In our story, Nana and CJ don't make people in need come to them. Instead, they travel to where the people in need are. And CJ reminds us that that isn't always a comfortable or eagerly anticipated course of action. He'd rather get into a warm, dry car and go home instead of wait in the rain for a bus full of strangers. But with Nana's gentle guidance from the loving community she creates for CJ, he finds it within himself to get uncomfortable. It's not easy to consider asking a total stranger to play you a song. Maybe they're going to tell you to get lost. And it can be hard to decide to ride the bus to a less familiar part of town to work in a soup kitchen on a Sunday afternoon instead of just going home and playing video games. But from this discomfort, from this stretching out from a place of loving safety and comfort to take a chance on something that makes us uncomfortable, beloved community grows. Because often that thing that initially makes us uncomfortable can become something that becomes comfortable. CJ gets to enjoy a lovely song with the rest of the people on the bus. And ultimately, he's really glad he and Nana go to the soup kitchen. In this way, our loving community of Westminster, which brings many of us so much comfort, can become the springboard from which we gain the confidence to stretch out and get uncomfortable and be the help and ally in the places where it's needed. That for me is what connect and serve truly means. We don't give up on being welcoming, but we don't forget to connect, serve, and get a little uncomfortable.
As Sarah and Beth and I were brainstorming about what this kind of getting proximate, getting uncomfortable might look like for us, we invited some folks from the Siege anti-racism team to join us. We bounced around some ideas, how to get in there with people who are impacted the most by injustice. Turns out, by the way, that getting close to anyone right now has its challenges in a pandemic. But still, there were some great ideas. We can get proximate virtually. We can, for example, go to our Rhode Island NAACP Zoom meeting, or we can go to our local DARE group Zoom meeting. DARE is an organization of people fighting for the rights of prisoners and also advocating for families who are facing eviction. We can invite another Westminsterite to go with us, and we can listen. We can take a back seat. We can learn, and we can find out how we can help. And if you want to do this, I'll go with you. Reach out to me. Let's do it. We can also, additionally, build on the great work the anti-racism team started last year of educating ourselves and opening up our culture, becoming more widely welcoming here. There's a wonderful workshop called Beloved Conversations that we could schedule. There's another one called New Day Rising that's happening on February 27th. There's a great book called Widening the Circle of Concern, along with a study guide that was put out by our own UUA about all the things we can do to become more aware and welcoming right here in this congregation. As we get comfortable with discomfort, as we become more and more able to connect with people whose lives are different from any of ours, as each of us stretches into new understanding of problems facing other people, whether that's in our minds by taking these workshops or in our bodies by going out and learning more in relation to other groups, whenever we do that, we bring that back here, making our own welcome ever wider, making our own connections ever deeper, and our service in and to the world ever more effective and meaningful, creating truly, deeply, widely beloved community here and everywhere we go. Let us join for our closing hymn, We Are Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, growing stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and tyranny. We are working to be free. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Let us live our love as best we can, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, making mistakes, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, creating the beloved community together.